Hi everybody. I just wanted to welcome you to my channel. Today we're going to make a little sourdough bread, something I haven't done in quite some time. So I'm going to demonstrate the stretch and folds and the final shaping. And then I guess I'll wait until I bake it to do that in a separate video, because that's another day. So at the time of this recording, I've already finished all my stretch and folds. You'll see those coming up. I did not record the initial mixing of the dough. I didn't think that was necessary anyway. Everybody knows how to mix flour and water, no big deal. But I will do a screenshot or a little thing with the recipe that I use, and I'll put that here. It's basically 50 grams of starter, 350 grams of water, 500 grams of bread flour, and that's all. That's all you need. For this particular recipe though, I'm gonna try something that I think has been a little bit of a viral video. I'm going to grate a stick of butter, and I'm gonna add that on my final stretch and fold tomorrow, and it's supposed to yield a very nice loaf of bread, much like a croissant. So we'll see how that works out. But I hope you enjoy the video. And if you have any questions, feel free to post below. And I will leave some resources in the description box. The only method that I follow and have followed for several years is Elaine Body at Food Bod Sourdough. She has the simplest method that I have found so far. I was just checking to make sure my background wasn't really awful. She has the simplest method that I've found of just about anybody. And her recipe is simple and straightforward. Her method is simple and straightforward. So I highly recommend her very, very much. So I hope you enjoy the video, and if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask. I'm happy to help anybody, and I'll be back tomorrow when I do the final shaping. Bye! Okay, here we are with our first stretch and fold. Washing my hands, and I wasn't really prepared, and I hope the sound of the dishwasher isn't too awful bad, but I wasn't thinking when I started it. Of course I could stop it, I suppose. Okay. Alright, let me get my scraper. Should have done this already. Let's see if I can find it. I don't know where the scraper is. It was in this drawer. There it is. All right. Okay, I may have to edit some of this out. I wasn't prepared as I thought I was. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, I have 2 bowls of dough going here because I have a lot of starter that I need to use. So this was the initial mix, and now I'm doing the first stretch and fold. Usually what I do is I have this bowl scraper and I just scrape around bowl because I like a clean bowl. Get everything loosened, and then I take a wet hand, and this has been sitting for a little over an hour. So as you can see, it's already got a lot of gluten development. So I just keep going around till it's tightened up enough, and then I'll usually pick it up and do that. Plop it back in there, cover it up, and here we go with the second one. Same thing. Wet the hands. You don't have to have a really light hand at this point. Okay, seam down. And that's that for those 2. And we'll come back and do it again in about 30 minutes. Okay, we are back for stretch and fold number 2. And you should see that the dough is a little smoother. Not as many of these little bits of dough or flour. Feel little bits of flour that need to be squished. All right, there is number 2. And I'll see you again for number 3. Okay, here we are for stretch and fold number 3. And each of these is about 30 minutes apart, at least 30 minutes apart. Yeah, see, this is much silkier now. And pay attention to how I'm doing these stretch and folds, because this will be the same method we use for final shaping. See how it ends up in a ball? That should be how it looks at final shaping. will be in the morning.
There's also admonitions in there for all believers, for all Christians. Like it says in each of the letters, "He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches." So, I mean, I have ears, you have ears. I know that's not literal ears or whatever, but we have the ability to read and understand it. Hear it being read to us. We need to understand
There's
what
still a
it's saying.
few
So Jesus spoke to
little
seven
clods
churches.
of flour.
Not even the biggest
And
churches,
when you see those, you just want to kind of pinch them. And that's the third stretch and fold. I wanted to show you guys. Don't need that anymore. I want to show you the flour that I used. This is the flour I recommend to anyone starting sourdough. You can find it almost anywhere. This one I got at Walmart for about $6. So it's very good for beginners, and it's very good for anybody doing sourdough, not just beginners. But it's a really good high protein flour. So I highly recommend that. And then you'll also need brown rice flour for dusting your bannetons, or if you're going to use just a bowl lined with a towel, you'll still need this. So we'll go over that in the morning. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye for now. All right, good morning, everybody. I probably should have gotten out a bowl of water, because I'm going to need a little bit of water. Okay. All right. So I believe our dough is ready. We will go ahead and start shaping. I'm going to be using two different methods of shaping. And I'll explain that a little more here in a little bit. But this has been proving overnight. Actually, I had gotten up around 1 in the morning and thought I had better put it in the fridge, because if I don't, it's going to be overproofed by the time I get up. I probably should have used a little less starter to lengthen the proofing time, but I didn't. So, all right, I'm going to illustrate the two methods I use to see if my dough is proofed. There are two tests I usually use. The first is called the jiggle test, and that's kind of self-explanatory. So when I jiggle the dough, you see it jiggles like a bowl of jelly. If it wasn't proofed, it wouldn't jiggle like that. It'd be more firm. Second test I use is poke test. And the poke test involves using a wet finger, poking the dough, and depending on how it springs back is going to tell you whether it's proofed or not. So if it springs back right away, it's not ready. If it doesn't spring back at all, it could be overproofed. If it slowly fills back in, that's when you know it's ready. So we're going to do a poke test this morning right here. I hope you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke it here. It's not really springing back, is it? So there's the bottom of the dough. It looks really good. So I'm just going to go ahead and shape it and see what happens. So with wet hands, you just go around the edge of your bowl to loosen the dough. That's what I do anyway first. Look at all those bubbles. That's a good sign. Okay, once you get all the way around, then you take some dough, grab it, and you fold it over towards the middle. loosen from the bowl. Now, as you can see, it's deflating. That's okay. Depending on the flour, it very well may do that. I'm not worried about it because it doesn't feel overproofed. If it was overproofed, it would be kind of soupy, sloppy, and it doesn't feel sloppy at all. So you just keep going around, forming a ball. And yeah, sometimes it springs back like that. I don't know what to tell you about that. I wish it wouldn't do that. But sometimes it does. Maybe stretch it a little bit further across the ball. But in doing this, you're tightening up the base of the dough, which ends up being the top. And you're wanting to build tension on the top of your dough. Okay. All right. I'm done with that. Okay. So you gather it up in the middle and then turn the bowl upside down, and there you have your dough. And you take your banneton that you have sprinkled with rice flour and you plop it in your banneton. Now what I usually do is I will cover this and set it aside and let it relax, and then come back later and do what they call stitching, and that's just tightening it up a bit more. Okay, so there's the first one. Set it over there. So here's the second way of shaping, and I do this when I want to add inclusions. In this case, I'm going to add butter. So I have my mat out here, and what I'm going to do, I'm not going to add flour. That is a no-no. Adding more flour to your dough is not a good idea. I see a lot of sourdough bakers do this, and I cringe every time, because what you're doing is giving the yeast, the natural yeast, more food to munch on. That's number one. Number two, this is sourdough. And if you still have flour that has not been eaten through during the proofing, well, now you're going to have part of your sourdough that's not sourdough. It's not processed. That flour, even though some would say it's an insignificant amount, why add it? So what I do is use a wet surface. This may seem a little counterintuitive, but it's really not. So wet your surface. I can feel a little bit of rice flour on my mat. That's probably not the greatest. Try to get some of it off. Oh, I gotta let the dog in. Come on, Goop. Let there be light. Okay, so wet your surface, and then you take your dough, and I think I've got butter on the top of my cover here. That just pulls off, and then same thing, well, or not, you can do what a lot of people do and just turn it out and wait for it to fall. This may take a while because your dough is stuck to your bowl. So let's just help it along a little bit I didn't do the poke test on this, did I? I did not, but I'm going to assume it's the same as the other one. We're getting there. This is kind of satisfying. Okay. See how it just releases from the bowl? That's cool. Okay. There's our dough. So what we're going to do is, I'm not really going to laminate it because I'm just adding butter. But I am going to create a larger surface area to add the butter and get it evenly distributed. And don't be afraid about popping bubbles. It's okay. All right, so there's that, and I'm going to get my butter out. Grated it this morning, and we're just going to sprinkle the butter as evenly as possible. This is just one stick of butter. Okay, so from here what we can do is, all right, so we're going to take a side and we're going to fold it in, sprinkle more butter, take another side and pull it in, sprinkle more butter, that's a lot of butter. And this is going to go back in the fridge once I get it rolled up and put in the Banneton. It's going to go in the fridge. And the butter should stay in the form that it's in now. All right, so now we're going to roll. See, you want it to stick to your mat. You don't want it to, you want resistance. Flour on your surface would not give you resistance. So see how I'm pulling it and it's tightening up? Okay, I don't want it round because I'm putting it in an oblong proofing basket. Okay. All right, so there's my second one. So we're going to cover that, and that will go in the fridge. I've still got butter left, but that's okay. I'll use it. So that's my shaping for today. 2 different methods. This method, this last method, you can use for any inclusions. So if you wanted to add cheese, if you wanted to add jalapenos, if you wanted to add herbs, you know, anything that you want to add to your dough. I mean, the sky's the limit, really. I've added a lot of things in my sourdough life. But that is how you would do it. You could still do inclusions in the bowl, but if you do, you would add those inclusions at the very beginning. That's what I do. So if I do like a jalapeno cheddar, I would mix those in at the initial mix. That way, through all the stretches and folds, all the inclusions are completely dispersed around the dough and evenly. So that's what I've always done. I don't laminate. It does help strengthen the dough, the laminating. Of course, this wasn't really laminating. Laminating, you want to get it really thin. You want to stretch it pretty much the whole size of this mat. And it's very thick. Put that butter back in there. So that's when I would choose this method. So these doughs will go back in the fridge, and they will stay in the fridge a minimum of 6 hours. The longer they're in there, make sure they're always covered. The longer they're in there, the more flavor, i.e. sourness, supposedly, is imparted into the dough. Definitely more flavor, because a different kind of acid is released or created during this longer cold proof period. So I've left my dough in the fridge for as much as 72 hours. I wouldn't push 72 hours, but I have done it. I would aim more for at least 24 to 48 hours in the fridge before baking. And I will do, because I want to go ahead and get this uploaded, I'll do another video on baking when it comes time to doing that. So once I get these in the pans and score them, I will put that on the next video. But this is just how to prepare the dough. And for those of you who are new to sourdough or are curious about the process, I just thought I would do a video on how to do that. And so I hope this was helpful, enlightening, what have you. Yeah, I just got up, so I haven't even had coffee yet. What I was saying earlier about putting it in the fridge, because I thought it was going to overproof. Well, I had it on this counter and I was doing dishes, so this countertop was warm. And when I had gone to bed, I should have taken a picture, because the dough had risen significantly just being on this warm countertop. And I was going to leave it. Have my son put it in the fridge when he got up this morning at 5 o'clock. Well, I thought that's probably not a good idea, because by 5 o'clock, that's 4 or 5 more hours, it'll be overproofed. So I got up at 1 and put both bowls in the fridge, and then asked my son to set the bowls out on the counter at 5 o'clock this morning when he got up. So they had come up to room temperature. It's a little after 8 o'clock. So they had come up to room temperature and they had finished proofing. The fridge just kind of slows everything down. So in sourdough, if you need that extra time or you're worried about overproofing, put it in the fridge. It will cool things down, because the natural yeast need warmth to do their thing, and the cooler temperatures just slow things down, which is why I tell people wintertime is the best time to try sourdough, because your ambient temperatures are cooler, there's not as much humidity in the air. So we can talk more about that later. So anyway, I'm going to get these in the fridge and get this video uploaded. And like I said yesterday, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help anybody. So till next time, you guys, bye.